Hello, fourth graders. Mrs. Clausen here today to teach you today's reading lesson on seeing power in its many forms. And there's that funny picture to make you laugh of I've got the power. It's such a cute picture of a baby. So today we're going to be learning about how you can explore different power dynamics and relationships in the books that you're reading. And especially in historical fiction, there's always a group of people who's in power, and then there are rules that are formed based off of that, based off of what book you're reading. So ending a book can fill you with lots of mixed thoughts. Now that we've finished Number the Stars, we're going to take some time to think about the story as a whole. I think that power is an important aspect of the story, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Our goal is to learn that looking at books in terms of the topic of power in the story helps us find meaning in the story. And especially with historical fiction, again, it really helps us understand at the time period that things were occurring, who was in charge and how is that affecting people in that setting. So in order to find out as much as possible about the topic of power within a story, there are two questions that you want to ask. Who makes the rules and who's in charge? So I'm going to read to you a passage from Number the Stars, and I want you to think about, you could write this down or turn and tell your pet or your parent, who is making the rules and who is in charge at this time. So now I want you guys to remember the scene where Ellen and Anne Marie, a while back ago, ran into those German soldiers. Go home, all of you. Go study your school books and don't run. You look like hoodlums when you run. Where did you get the dark-haired one? He twisted a lock of Ellen's hair. From a different father? From a milkman? So I want you to think of who's making the rules and who is in charge. So you can pause the lesson to write that down or share who you think is in charge. So you may have thought of different things. You may have thought of the German soldiers. You may have thought of the Nazis being in charge during this time. And that's basically who was making the rules at this time. Some other questions to consider when you're thinking of power is who has the power and what is the resistance? So in the same scene, I want you to think of what is the resistance. And think of examples of resistance as well. So the handkerchiefs filled with the tricks, the necklace clutched in Anne Marie's hand, the fake wake of Aunt Bertie are all examples of people resisting against power. So you'll be exploring the topic of power when you're reading in your historical fiction books. One of my book clubs is reading the book, The Hero Two Doors Down. In this book, it's about Jackie Robinson, and I'd mentioned this last time, but this is all about Jackie Robinson. And in this historical fiction book, the main character, Stevie, meets Jackie Robinson and he moves into his neighborhood. And at the time, there was segregation. So the Jewish neighborhood was really uncomfortable with a Black family moving into their neighborhood. And then Stevie really resisted that change. And he was so excited for Jackie Robinson to move into his neighborhood. And so I'm going to read to you a passage, and I want you to think about what is in power at the time and what is the resistance. One day I got on a bus going from the army base into town. I had to see the doctor at the hospital. Because of the Jim Crow laws, I was supposed to move to the back of the bus and sit down, but there was a seat in the middle of the bus next to a woman I knew from the base. The bus driver and I argued, and I was arrested. So this is what Jackie Robinson is explaining to Stevie during his time in the service when he was told to move to the back of the bus. And so in this example, Jackie Robinson was resisting the power that was created by the Jim Crow laws. And if you haven't heard of that before, that's basically in the 1960s when the southern states had those rules against Black people being able to go the same places as white people. So just understanding the time period that this is occurring can help us know who's in power and who's fighting for change, who's resisting that power. So that is what you're going to be doing when you're finishing up your historical fiction books or getting close to the end. Really pay close attention to who's in power and how does that affect the story. Great job and good luck.